As I've said many times in the last few videos, I'm writing my books by hand this year. And in this video, I want to talk through why I think that that's important and why I think you should as well, and the reasons that I'm doing it. Number one, it gets back to the roots of writing. Writing is something that is done with pen and paper. All of the great classics, many of them had to have been written on hand. Even if you go into music and other things were written by hand because that's what there was. Even when you go into the world of the typewriter, I think that it's still kind of a form and akin to handwriting because you can't go back to edit it. You can't really change anything. You're still doing something that feels a little more permanent. So for me, writing by hand is kind of a way to get out of this kind of digital world and get back to the root of what it is we are creating. It feels more tactile and it feels more personal. It feels like I'm really attached to the story that I'm writing. I've been noticing for a long time when I write on a computer, I can write so many more words than even I think my brain can really comprehend and think through. I'm just typing all this stuff and I don't remember it. I don't always connect with what I'm writing. And so when I go back and reread it, I'm like, what is this? I don't even know. I don't even like half remember what it is or what I was trying to accomplish. And so by writing it by hand, I feel like I'm just more connected to the story. I'm remembering it more, and it's more of a personal experience. And the other reason is that this was written differently, that it was written with a lot more care and a lot more intentionality. And it went back to, why, if you look at all these classics that are these older books that were written in the 1800s and before, and even in the early 1900s and all those kinds of things, they're classics and they're like that for a reason. And I think it was because the authors that wrote them focused and were very intentional with writing their books, and they wrote them by hand, and it was a very personal experience for them. It's something that I'm hoping that I can convey in my stories because I do really care about them. I care about the story that I'm telling. And so I'm hoping that by kind of reconnecting with this handwriting experience of writing my book, I hope that that comes through when people finally read the books. Next is it's more intentional. I already spoke a little bit about this, but it's a more intentional experience. When you write on a computer, you really take away the need to truly, really think about your words because you can just write so much faster and then you can delete it all and rewrite it. And so when you're doing this with a notebook, what I have noticed is I write slower, I write more intentionally, and I really, truly think about every sentence that I'm putting down. And you do get in kind of a flow, but it's a slower flow. It's a slower, you're really thinking about, okay, what would this character really say here? What would this description actually look like? And how does that description affect the character? How does that affect this group of characters? Before I actually write it, I stop and I think about it more. I sit there with my pen hovering over the page and think about what I want to write before I actually put the words down. So there's less of this scribble, delete, scribble something, delete, scribble, delete. You're really thinking through it and writing some very intentional words. And so I feel like the writing that's coming out of my writing sessions is better because I'm not just typing every single word that comes to my brain. I'm thinking through it, and then I'm only putting down the words that I'm really thinking about and want to convey what I want to convey. Again, along with it reconnecting you and being more of a personal thing, it's much more intentional and focused when it comes to the actual art of telling the story and writing the story. The third thing is it doesn't require batteries, so you can take it anywhere. You can go anywhere as long as you have a little bit of light. You don't even need that much light. You can take it anywhere you go. You can do it at a coffee shop, you can write it at home, you can write it in bed, you can write it in a chair, you can write it anywhere you are. You can just have a notebook in your bag, pull it out and write. There's no limitation for when or how you can do something. So if you're on a plane, waiting for a train, whatever it is, you can just have a notebook, you can pull it out and you can do some writing. There's no limitation from a technology standpoint of being able to write. The only thing that may come up is if you run out of ink, which just throw an extra pen in your bag and you'll be just fine. The fourth thing is absolutely zero distractions. What I have loved and found the most valuable about writing my books in a notebook is the notebook can't distract me. Something that happens a lot because everything that I do, my full-time job is based on computers. Everything that I do for this YouTube channel is based off computers. Everything I do for pretty much everything is based on using a computer, using the internet, using my phone, using an iPad, whatever it is. If I sit down in my writing session and I put all of those devices away and I put them on Do Not Disturb, I shut off all the notifications and I sit down with my notebook, that notebook cannot distract me. There's nothing it can do. It can't ping me any notifications. There's nothing I can look up in it. I can't get on the internet with it. It literally can do nothing other than accept what I am writing on the page. This to me has been the most absolute, most valuable part of writing my stories in a notebook. And probably, especially in our digital age, if I had to pick one thing in this video to tell you this is why you should be writing your book in a notebook, it's this one. There's zero distractions and you can focus on simply the act of writing. The last thing is kind of an interesting one, and it's kind of about leaving it for other people. The cool thing about writing is, and handwriting stuff, is you can leave it for your loved ones. You can leave it for your kids. You can leave it for whoever you have in your life, or fans, or whatever. It becomes something that can actually be very fun and personable and valuable to those closest to you. I have a lot of journals and notebooks, and my family has a lot of journals and notebooks from my grandparents and things that have their own handwriting in it that's really fun to see and read, and it feels like differently than having writing from them on a computer would feel. Again, it goes back to that being very personal. When I hold that notebook, when I read a journal from my grandpa or something, it feels like he's there with me. It feels like they're in the room with you, and it's a part of them that you can see even though they may be gone or you're not with them or whatever. This one's kind of an interesting one. It's maybe not something everyone thinks about, but I think about it a lot, and I think it's going to be really cool someday if my daughter or my family have these notebooks from me that they can read and see my own handwriting in the books and have a little bit of part of me, even if maybe they're not with me every day anymore or whatever. That one's a little bit of a one I think that nobody really thinks about, but I think it's a really important one because it's important to stay connected to your family and to your roots, and I think that this is a great way to leave that for your loved ones and for your friends or your fans or whoever it is that may be interested in those things. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this video was really helpful to you. Make sure to comment down below if you can think of any other reasons why maybe you would love to write your novels in a notebook or on paper. If you have any suggestions about what you've done, or if you are doing this, definitely let me know. Or if you have any reasons why you're not, maybe you have tried it before and you didn't like it or whatever, let me know. Let's have a discussion, and I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you next time on Writing Quest. Huzzah!